Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're diving into the tragic passing of Liam Payne. One of the voices that, defined a generation, right?
We really did.
You've sent us a collection of news reports, articles, and it seems like you're really trying to, get a clear understanding of what happened during his last few days in Argentina.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while the full picture might always be a little unclear,
Right.
we can definitely start piecing it together using eyewitness accounts, official statements, even, glimpses into his social media.
It's like putting together a puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A really complex mosaic, one piece at a time.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Okay.
We know Payne went to Argentina to see his old bandmate, Niall Horan, who's on tour there. Seems like a pretty straightforward trip on the surface.
Yeah, just a visit between old friends.
Yeah.
But you've highlighted some interesting points here. Payne mentioned on Snapchat that he and Horan had a lot to talk about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And while not necessarily a bad omen or anything,
Right.
it does make you wonder if there were maybe some deeper issues,
Oh, interesting.
perhaps unresolved beneath the reunion,
Yeah, like below the surface.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this backdrop of a potential heart-to-heart. We also know Payne was joined by his girlfriend, Kate Cassidy,
Right.
for at least part of the trip.
Yeah.
What do we know about what they got up to? Did they kind of keep to themselves, or was it like full-on vacation mode?
There are definitely glimpses of, a carefree trip,
Yeah.
at least at the beginning.
Okay.
They were seen at Horan's concert on October 2nd.
Okay.
Eyewitnesses described Payne as engaged, even happy.
Really?
Yeah, singing along, dancing.
Huh.
He even shared videos on social media.
Right, which we know, social media never tells the full story.
Never tells the full story.
Now, it's that contrast that I find so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Those public snapshots of joy
Right.
against what we know happens later.
Yeah.
Speaking of, can we maybe, shift gears a little to the incident itself?
Yeah, for sure.
What actually happened at the hotel?
So this is where the narrative takes a somber turn.
Okay.
Around 5 p.m. local time on Wednesday, a frantic call was placed to emergency services by the staff at the hotel where Payne was staying, the Casa Sur Hotel.
A frantic call. Okay, so that definitely suggests things escalated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What kind of details did they give to the emergency operator?
So the call transcript is chilling.
Really?
It really is.
Oh.
It paints this picture of Payne in extreme distress.
Oh.
The staff described him as appearing overwhelmed, and they said he was destroying his room.
Oh, wow.
And their concern for his safety was really clear, especially because he had access to a balcony.
They specifically mentioned the balcony.
They did, which just, I don't know,
Yeah.
adds another layer of unease to the whole situation.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You mentioned destroying his room.
Yeah.
Did the reports go into any more detail on that? Because that phrasing seems, oddly specific for a distress call, right?
Yeah, and you're right to pick up on that.
Okay.
It definitely hints at a level of chaos and maybe even desperation.
Wow.
And we're not talking about just a misplaced lamp here.
Right.
Imagine a scene where the TV is shattered.
Oh, my God.
Its screen, just a spider web of cracks.
Oh, that's awful.
They even found medications scattered around clonazepam, which is an anti-anxiety medication, along with a bunch of over-the-counter pills.
Wow.
It's like this wave of turmoil just swept through the room.
That's unsettling.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like just, someone who's had a bit too much to drink. Right?
No, not at all.
Sounds like there was a lot more going on
A lot.
than meets the eye.
Yeah.
And this was all a few days after the concert, right?
Yes.
You mentioned Cassidy had already left by this point?
Right. So while they had visited friends in the days between the concert and this incident,
Okay.
Cassidy was already back home when this happened.
Yeah.
He was alone at the hotel when this unfolded.
Alone and seemingly in a very, very dark place.
Yeah.
So that call to emergency services, that wasn't the end of it, was it?
Tragically, no.
Yeah.
Just a few moments after that frantic call,
Yeah.
Payne fell from his third-floor balcony.
It's hard to even imagine, that scene unfolding at the hotel.
Yeah.
What did the authorities actually find when they got there?
Well, it was a grim discovery.
Right.
Police and paramedics arrived so quickly,
Okay.
but it was already too late.
Oh, gosh.
They found Payne's body in the courtyard below.
Oh, no.
He was pronounced dead at the scene.
It's just so much tragedy.
I know.
In such a short period of time.
It's really hard to process.
It really is.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that the police described his hotel room as being in total disorder. Did they say anything more about whether that might point to, like,
Right.
a struggle or even, like, I don't know, foul play?
That's exactly the question that investigators were trying to figure out,
Great.
especially with how chaotic the room was
Yeah.
and those inconsistencies they found in witness statements,
Oh, interesting.
which they're not sharing too much about yet.
Okay.
We have this image of Payne.
Right, like at the concert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happy, engaged.
Right.
But then just days later, it's like something completely changed.
Wow.
The intensity of that shift is it's difficult to reconcile.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You mentioned those discrepancies, and now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Are there any more details about what exactly doesn't add up?
So unfortunately, they haven't released the specifics publicly,
Okay.
but the fact that the authorities specifically mention that they're investigating the possible involvement of third parties is, quite frankly,
Oh, wow.
chilling, you know?
Yeah.
It suggests that someone else might have been there.
Right.
Might have had some part in those final moments.
Gosh, that just adds another layer of, like, I don't know, complexity
It really does.
to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got this possibility of someone else being involved, this chaotic scene at the hotel,
Right.
and then the just awful reality of Payne's fall.
It's a lot to take in.
What did the autopsy actually say about his injuries?
Yeah.
Did it give any clues about what happened?
Well, the autopsy report was, as you can imagine,
Right.
really tough to read.
Yeah.
It showed 25 separate injuries that were consistent with a fall from that height.
25
God,
injuries.
25.
25. That's just
Yeah, I know.
fractures, internal bleeding.
Oh.
The impact was just devastating.
I mean, were they even able to tell if he was conscious when he fell?
That's where things get even more murky, unfortunately.
Okay.
The report said that there's a chance
Yeah.
that he might have been fully or even just partially unconscious when he fell.
Oh, wow.
Just think about that for a second.
Yeah. We might never actually know for sure what he was thinking or feeling in those last moments,
Right.
if it was a conscious choice or something else completely.
Gosh, that
fucking-
ambiguity
It's heartbreaking.
adds another layer of sadness to everything.
It really does.
We talked earlier about the authorities finding alcohol in the room
Yeah.
and what they thought were narcotics as well.
Right.
And then combined with what you said about the anxiety medication,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like, it's possible that substance use might have been a factor.
It's definitely a possibility.
But it's not a certainty yet, right?
Exactly. It's important that we don't jump to any conclusions.
Right, of course.
While the fact that those substances were there definitely raises questions.
Mm-hmm.
The toxicology report is still pending.
Okay.
That report is going to be absolutely crucial in giving us a clear picture of what role, if any, those substances actually played in those last few hours.
It seems like we keep coming back to this idea of, like, these hidden struggles.
Yeah.
The difference between the face someone shows the world
Mm-hmm.
and what's really happening in their life.
Exactly. It's a sad reminder that what we see on social media,
Right.
it's often just a carefully curated sliver of someone's story.
Yeah. And not the full picture.
Not at all.
No.
And it's crucial to remember this wasn't just a celebrity tragedy.
Right.
This was a young life cut short.
Yeah.
A son, a friend, an artist, someone who touched millions of people with his music.
Right. It makes you think about the pressure that comes with fame, the constant scrutiny.
It's relentless.
And then, trying to stay mentally healthy
Right.
amidst all of that.
In that whirlwind.
It's got to be incredibly tough.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost makes, those seemingly happy social media posts,
Mm-hmm.
the photos where he's smiling, the videos from the concert, they almost feel even more, I don't know, poignant, knowing what we know now.
With that heartbreaking undercurrent, that of what we know came next.
It makes you wonder what was really going through his head,
I know.
And even if that toxicology report comes back and gives us some answers,
Right.
it's like we still might never really know the full extent of what he was dealing with.
That's a tough truth.
Yeah.
We're left trying to put together these little pieces of information.
Right, like a puzzle where some pieces are missing.
Exactly, these public faces and private struggles.
Yeah.
But even without all the answers,
Right.
what we do have is this stark reminder to be kind,
Yeah.
to have empathy.
Especially when it comes to people in the public eye.
Absolutely, because we never truly know what's happening behind closed doors.
No, we don't.
No.
It's so easy to get caught up in, the headlines and the gossip.
Right, all the noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we forget that there's a real person with real feelings
A human being.
at the center of it all.
Absolutely. Someone who feels joy and pain and everything in between.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And someone who might be struggling silently.
Exactly. And I think these tragedies, we see them happen over and over.
Right.
And they highlight just how important it is to talk about mental health,
Yeah.
not just for celebrities, but for everyone.
Yeah.
Because that pressure to look perfect on social media,
Oh, it's
it's
constant.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And it can hide some very real, very raw emotions.
Yeah, it's like it creates this pressure to pretend everything's okay
Exactly.
when it's really not.
It's a mask.
Yeah, and it's a conversation we need to be having
Absolutely.
more openly, more honestly.
that's fair.
If we can just, step away from all the speculation for a minute.
Right.
Are there any new developments in the investigation?
So right now, it's a waiting game.
Okay.
They're still waiting on those toxicology results.
Right.
And that information could be key
Yeah.
to figuring out what role, if any, substances played in those final moments. They're also still putting together the timeline, trying to figure out
Yeah.
what those inconsistencies in the witness statements really mean,
Okay.
whether or not anyone else was involved in those hours before Liam's fall.
So many unanswered questions.
I know.
So much that we might never know for sure.
It's true.
It's a sad reminder that sometimes,
Yeah.
even with all the information in the world,
Mm-hmm.
some stories just don't have a neat and tidy ending.
They don't know.
Oh.
But even though the circumstances surrounding his death
Right.
are full of sadness and unanswered questions,
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember Liam Payne for the joy he brought into the world through his music, his energy, his ability to connect with millions of fans.
Absolutely.
That's a legacy that goes beyond the tragedy of his last days.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
It's such a heartbreaking loss, and he'll be so missed.
He will.
Thank you so much for diving into this really complex and sensitive topic with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
It's been really affecting to kind of go through all this.
It was.
And for everyone listening,
Yeah.
if anything in this deep dive has brought up any difficult emotions,
Please.
or if you're struggling, please know that you are not alone.
You're not alone.
Reach out to a friend, a family member,
Yeah.
a professional.
There's always help out there.
Always. Always.
Thank you so much for listening.